Good evening, and welcome to the Claw Studio for this insight, which is supported by Rolex. I'm Ian Skelly, and tonight we're going to be exploring the astonishing world of Handel's Ariodante, which is a medieval court conspiracy set in Scotland, which is the subject of an absolute masterpiece of baroque music. It lay forgotten, though, for 200 years after its first couple of runs, right here in Covent Garden. Handel's genius shines through at the brightest in this remarkable opera, and it was composed in a difficult year for him, 1734. This was when he had run out of favour down at the King's Theatre in Haymarket and was essentially moving his entire operation to a brand new opera house here at Covent Garden. Well, Ariodante comes just before Alcina, and the music is powerful, full of lots of dramatic and emotional depths, and aria after aria, sung by some remarkably complex characters. Well, tonight we're going to hear from the director, who's making her debut here at the Royal Opera House, Jeske Meinsen, and conductor Stefano Montanari. And together they're going to bring this new staging of Handel's Ariodante, his most famous Italian language opera, to the stage. We'll also meet and hear from some of the cast members, and also from our Handel expert tonight, Dr. Susan Apston. But first, to get this evening off to a flying start, let's hear some of the most remarkable music from this opera. Would you please welcome our mezzo-soprano Grace Durham, who's covering the role of Ariodante in this production, and at the piano, Edward Reeve. Well, what a wonderful way to start the evening. That was Ariodante's aria from the start of Act 1, when he is very much, as you could tell, a happy lad. Grace and Edward, thank you for joining us this evening. Edward is the assistant conductor on this production. Well, George Frederick Handel was born in 1685 in Germany, but by the 1710s he was here in London, earning his living writing plenty of oratorios and lots of operas. He wrote over 40 in the end, many of which were premiered here at Covent Garden. Ariodante was Handel's very first opera for this opera house, and his only opera that was set in the British Isles. So let's get some historical context about the origins of this opera, and indeed why Handel found himself here in Covent Garden for the first time, by talking to our Handel expert this evening, an academic from Oxford University and writer, Professor Suzanne Apston. Suzanne, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Let's just start, not here, but down the road at Haymarket. Am I right in thinking that by the time he finished at the King's Theatre, he was kind of playing to almost empty houses, Handel?
I think there was a mixed bag. So this theatre, well, not this theatre, but the theatre that was built on this site was built with the money that the manager John Rich had made from the Beggar's Opera. 1728, the Beggar's Opera, reputed to have made the playwright John Gay rich and to have made Rich gay. He made so much money that he could build a wonderful new theatre. So that emptied the opera house. That production of the Beggar's Opera, hugely successful, led to a range of other ballad operas being generated, about 100 ballad operas over the next 10 years. So there was this sense that for the Italian opera, the audiences were fickle. And for Handel, who was seen to be a little bit above himself, the audiences could also be a little bit fickle. Nonetheless, his works were wonderful, and they were popular.
Yes, he was described as imperious and had an extravagant will by one particular critic. But there was also this other battle going on between the two opera houses, which involved the royal family, did it not? The two factions. Could you just fill us in on that before we move forward?
Sure. So Handel, the first Royal Academy of Music came to an end in 1728, partly under the influence of the success of the Beggar's Opera and also the battle royale between the supporters of the two leading ladies of the time, which in fact the Beggar's Opera satirized. So 1728, that came to an end. They started up a new venture, not quite as successful. And that also came to an end after about 5 years. But Handel's main singer, Senesino, the castrato, had royally got the hump with Handel and went off to set up his own company in 1733. It was called the Opera of the Nobility. We call it the Opera of the Nobility. At the time, people called it Senesino's company. So it was very much seen as the leading singer setting up in opposition to Handel.
And he had the backing of the Prince of Wales, didn't he, Frederick?
Yes, he had some backing from the Prince of Wales, which was probably more about rivalry between the Prince and his father, George II. So Prince Frederick was not treated very nicely by his father, and he got his own back by siding with what was called the Patriot opposition, and he went round in a kilt pretending he was half Scottish and just trying to curry favour with the very patriotic English audience.
And Senesino also managed to lure Farinelli, the great castrato, to London, which didn't help Handel at all.
That was the biggest coup. Handel, I don't know if any of you will have heard of Farinelli. He was the best singer of the century. And we can say this in 1733. They were still saying it in the 1780s and 1790s, that he was such a wonderful singer that to get him to London, Handel had tried several times and not been successful. So when Senesino's company managed to pay an extortionate sum and get Farinelli to come to London, they were absolutely delighted. An aria of that quality for the castrato who Handel employed, Giovanni Carestini, had to be written to try to offset the qualities of Farinelli. They couldn't do it. I mean, there was no out-competing Farinelli in terms of virtuosity, as beautiful as that aria is. And that led to a reduction in audiences for Handel. These two companies, I mean, they couldn't make enough money as an opera company just with the one company. Now they have two Italian opera companies trying to fight against one another. Audiences weren't simply going to go for loyalty to Handel. in the face of this wonderful castrato.
So John Rich has built this big new opera house, and it was big, wasn't it? How many did it seat roughly?
Oh, about 2,000, I think.
Really, yes.
Yeah.
And lots of new sort of technical stuff that allowed him to create these wonderful, pictures on stage. So I suppose that was quite exciting. But even though it's not very far away, Haymarket, from Covent Garden, there was a distinct difference in the audiences that these two places would have attracted. I mean, what were the differences that Handel would have faced when he moved to Covent Garden?
So the Haymarket Theatre was built as the Queen's Theatre and then became the King's Theatre. We now associate it with Phantom of the Opera. Then it was the real opera, and it was closest to royalty, to the aristocracy. They all lived in the wonderful, beautiful new squares that were being built around there. So it had proximity to the seats of power, and that was where the aristocracy went. Here, we have proximity to the City of London, to all the medieval streets that there would have been around at that stage. In fact, through the centre of Covent Garden's theatre ran a boundary line between two parishes, which meant in legal terms it was a really good place for prostitutes to gather. So the Opera House, as with all theatres, became a site for solicitation of all kinds. So it was a very mixed crowd that gathered here. And of course it was a spoken theatre venue, primarily. John Rich did spoken theatre. Rich himself made a name as a pantomime harlequin. That was his big thing as a performer. So you had pantomime, you had spoken theatre. He was a great proponent of Shakespeare. You had Shakespearean drama, and then you had opera in the mix too.
So when Handel arrives here and writes his first opera, Ariodante, presumably he's got all that in his mind, has he? He's got this thought that he's got to appeal to a slightly, shall I say, rougher audience, one who certainly wants a bit more spectacle in the music. I mean, how much did this venue influence what we hear in this production?
Well, of course, there's wonderful spectacle in all of Handel's music, but he also caters for visual spectacle with this opera. So, and with Alcina, of course, as well, which is the same time, other side of Lent, comes a few months later. What a wonderful pairing, Ariodante and Alcina. If you think about anything you know about Purcell's operas, the dramatic operas of the late 17th century into the early 18th century, they have magic in them. They have gods descending from the heavens, and they have dancers. And so there's a bit of that working its way into Ariodante and Alcina. In fact, Handel incorporates ballet music for Marie Salé, who's come from Paris especially, and she's a wonderful dancer. So he capitalizes on the potential of this new stage in lots of different ways, but also effectively looks back to the kind of English opera that English audiences really liked, to Purcell, by doing something that has more magic in it. And the contrast is with the Italian serious opera, which at this stage is all about history and doesn't have any magic or any supernatural characters. It's all kings and queens. So for him to do something that's more witches and sorceresses is quite different, would have been seen as quite different.
And where did he get the story from for this opera?
From Orlando Furioso. So this is a common, Ariosto's Orlando Furioso is a common text in the 17th century, still a text that's used in France, drops out of fashion in Italian opera because they go to history instead. And so, again, Handel's kind of looking back to an older tradition of opera and also other kinds of musical settings that drew on these great romantic texts.
And the audience, because they loved Shakespeare, there was a bit of a Shakespeare revival going on, they would have recognized this story, would they not?
They would have recognized it from Much Ado About Nothing. this sense of a woman wrongfully accused of sexual impropriety with another man through the deceit of that man, through his jealousy. So yes, they may well have recognized the story. Shakespeare was going through a big revival in this period as well, and John Rich was a big proponent of that. So he might well have encouraged audiences to see that connection.
Well, we're going to hear more about the story in the next section of this, but for now, Susan, thank you very much indeed for giving us insight. Susan Apston. Well, Handel's Ariodante might have been inspired by Ariosto's famous chivalric epic poem, Orlando Furioso, but it is an opera of profoundly human characters. They are fabulously complex, these characters. There's lots of young love, lots of betrayal, and then reconciliation. It really does have it all. Well, let's meet a couple of members of the cast this evening who are going to have to carry those characters and convey all of this drama. We have with us this evening Jacqueline Stucker and Elena Villayon. Would you please welcome them? Hi.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us. So you're midway through rehearsals, I presume, are you?
Yeah, 3 weeks in.
How's it going?
We are in that point where we are running the show. We're about to get on stage, so lots of energy and ready to get into the theater. What do you think?
Yeah, we go on stage next week, and we did our room run today, which is we run the whole opera without stopping, and you know, it's helpful for us as cast to really get the feel for the show, and it was great.
Is this the first time you've seen the set on stage then, or the set in a rehearsal room?
We've been rehearsing on the set.
Yes,
yeah.
we've been rehearsing on the set, which is very helpful. You don't always have that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jacqueline, you are back here because you spent a lot of time in this house, didn't you, as a Jette Parker artist?
I did.
How does it feel to be back here?
It feels great. I was a young artist. I started in 2017. Can you believe I'm only 27 years old? But it was an amazing 2 years. It was a whirlwind. We worked so much, and it's one of the young artist programs, one of the only ones in the entire world where you really get to be on stage. I sang leading roles in the Lindbury. I sang, I don't know, just shy of 40 performances of Frasquita in a year and a half. New productions with Tony Pappano. It was an amazing experience. So as I was saying to you earlier when we were talking about sort of coming back as an alumna of the Jette Parker program, it's sort of when you go back to your primary school and everything looks really big. It looked really big back then, and now you're like, oh, I'm just an adult now. So it's very cool.
But in that short space of time, and as you say, you're so young, but even so, you've been in 4 different productions of this opera, haven't you?
This is my third production, but in my second role and third production.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan.
And how about you? Have you done this opera before?
I have not. This is my role debut and also my house debut.
Yeah.
Show debut.
Show debut.
Show debut.
Yes, show debut, role debut, so it's very new for me.
Well, let's just talk us through the characters that you're playing. You're Delinda,
Yes.
who is, I think, well, you're a complicated person anyway in this show, but the production has changed who you are, I think, hasn't it? Could you explain?
Yes, a bit. Actually, quite a bit. In the score, Delinda is listed as the maid of Ginevra. This is Ginevra here. But in this production, I am being portrayed as her sister. So that changes a lot, the dynamic between them, but also the dynamic between Delinda and every other character in the opera. I think it really ups the stakes. Delinda now has a sort of power that she wouldn't have otherwise have had over other people if she was a maid. Now she's part of this royal family and this court. And Handel opera does these kind of these court operas that you don't have the class warfare that you have like in Mozart operas and things like that. It's pretty isolated. You're dealing with the royals, you're dealing with the people in the upper echelon of the court. This is one of those operas. And so the dynamic is very different. She has a lot of power in this opera, and it makes it much more interesting.
Yes. Well, let's just take us through a bit of the story. You're Ginevra. And
I play Ginevra on stage, yeah.
Yes, indeed, yes. Well, you become her. And and she is the great victim of this opera in many ways, isn't she? Could you just take us through the plot very briefly so that people understand?
Yeah, sure. Wow, it's the alternate title for the show I think should be called Ginevra's Very Bad, Terrible, Awful Day. She is the Princess of Scotland. She is some kind of royalty, and she's all set to get married. Do we want to talk about this production specifically, or do we want to talk about just the opera?
Well, what's the difference?
There is a big difference. There is a big difference in this production that solves a big problem dramaturgically in the piece, but maybe I'll leave that for when you come see the show.
Oh.
Suffice it to say, it's even worse, and I can't even talk about it until the end of Act 1. But Ginevra is all set to get married to the hottest guy in town, Ariodante. At the beginning of Act 2, Delinda, my sister, teams up with Polinesso to play a nasty trick on Ariodante in order to make Ariodante think that I've been cheating on him, which is not true. Polinesso wants to be with me and become a royal, but I chose Ariodante instead, so he's kind of salty about it. So Ariodante believes it, and he goes off in despair to kill himself because he just can't ask me a question or have a conversation with me.
He's a man.
Right, I know. Like, who has time to send a text? So my father hears about this news, breaks the news to me, and I'm like, literally, are you so for real? And I go off stage for a second, and Ariodante's brother comes on and said, by the way, Ariodante killed himself because Ginevra has been sleeping around. Also not true, none of this is true. So then I come back on stage and I'm like, Dad, I'm having a really bad day. And he goes, you are a whore. And I'm like, so things really just start to go downhill from there.
Okay.
I think my boyfriend's dead. My father and I are fighting. I'm gonna die either by my own hand or by some other forces. So it gets pretty hopeless there at the end.
And meanwhile, your sister in this production is also, you also have this complicated role, don't you? Because you're not an Iago type figure, really, are you? You're a very beautiful figure.
No, it's totally different. She does betray Ginevra, but it's not malicious. It's not malicious intent at all. She has been manipulated by Polinesso. This is a character, whether she's the sister or whether she's the maid or anything, no matter what, she has been emotionally starved, and that has led her vulnerable to manipulation by a character who she is enamored with, this Polinesso. And he uses that against her, her vulnerability against her, and convinces her to play a little trick, although she doesn't really know what's happening, but she goes along with it because she's totally in love with him.
She's been seduced.
She's been seduced, and he says, why don't we play a little bit of dress up? And she doesn't know what's happening. Maybe she thinks it's a little kinky. I don't know what she really thinks. But she dresses up as Ginevra, which ultimately Ariodante thinks that Ginevra is cheating on him. Delinda doesn't see any of this that's happening. She's just in her moment with Polinesso, doing this very funny little thing that he's asked her to do. And ultimately, this kind of destroys Delinda. She is emotionally wrecked by this and has quite the character arc, psychological arc of redemption and understanding her worth and everything like that from the start of the opera, where she is completely vulnerable to manipulation by this character that she loves. At the end of the opera, it's very different.
So if that was a play, that would be enough. But what we're looking at is an opera by Handel. So how does Handel then create these extraordinary musical roller coasters that you're all on? What does he do for your character?
I was looking at, I have a degree in music theory, and I always like to look at key relationships and form. It helps me memorize music. And a lot of Ginevra's material is in G major, G for Ginevra. Don't forget it. And her lament in Act 2, I wouldn't say that she's at her absolute nadir at the end of Act 2, but it's the first time, I think, in her life that she's ever really felt like there's no way out, that there isn't a solution to this problem that she has. And it's an E minor, which is the relative minor of G major. So there's all of her love duets, whenever she refers to Ariodante, or an A major, which is a borrowed key, not a diatonic key of G major. It's a little bit of a foreign key. So it's an interesting sort of harmonic idea. Handel was, in the way he wrote music, in the sort of the way he set the text of these operas, a director in a lot of ways. His thumbprint is really in everything that we do from a musical standpoint. And I wonder myself, I've just played Ginevra in a different production at the Paris Opera. And in that production, there was a very different take on the tale, a very different ending. Everything was very different for this character. But I love playing Ginevra in this production because it's so clear that throughout the course of the show, her individuality, her key relationships assert themselves over and over and over. I am G major, A major doesn't fit. When I am at the depths of despair, I go to the relative minor, right? Everything fits musically, so it makes the characterization really easy.
And is Handel doing something different for you in that regard, would you say?
I mean, it's similar, especially in Handel's music. This is Baroque music, of course. The characterization of these characters come out in the vocal lines a lot, because this isn't Wagner, where you tell the under feelings of the characters in the orchestra and things like that. That exists, of course, to an extent, but you really get a lot of the coloratura and the harmonic shifts, which are not so obtuse, but they're enough that it indicates to us as performers where the feeling is headed. And also in the vocal writing. I mean, at least in Delinda's music, at the very beginning, the first couple of acts, very breathless, very high, very virtuosic, and almost straining, like in wanting the need to be accepted by Polinesso. She's singing these arias to him. And then she sings sort of a rage aria at the end, which is, filled with coloratura and high notes and everything. It really is on the paper exactly what she's feeling. And then at the very end, you could portray it a bunch of different ways, but the music kind of becomes much more simple. Maybe that could be her maturity in that moment, or her shock of everything that's happened. It could be many different things, and every production's different. That's where we have the opportunity to portray different aspects of what is given to us, but we just work with what's on the page. Yeah.
And of course, Handel wrote to Ariodante the role for a castrato, one of the top ones as we've heard in Europe, and therefore wrote a part for a singer who had an enormous range. I mean, does he do the same for you too as well, or do you get a slightly lighter ride than Emily does as Ariodante?
I do have fewer arias. How about you?
Fewer also, yes, and not as wide a range.
I mean, there's always challenges. I mean, and I've sung a couple of different Handelian heroines. I was in Berenice at the Linbury a couple of years ago, and I sang a castrato role then, which actually it was for I can't remember, Giacomo Conti, I think was the name of the castrato for whom my role was written, and perfect fit for a lyric soprano, I'll tell you what. So really, it was just custom made for me, like a great suit that I just had to make a couple of alterations to with ornaments. But in every Handelian tragic heroine, like Ginevra, and also like Delinda, there are so many different demands on what you can do vocally. I know for me, Act 1, I always say I'm an Act 2 Ginevra, because I understand the laments. It's very easy for me to go to some of these places as an actor and as a performer that are darker, that explore some of the more extremes of my voice. But in Act 1, it is coloratura, 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 happy, 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 cotton candy, And that is hard. It is hard, but we need to see how arrogant and how happy and how, I say that anyone like Succession, the TV show in the room? My character's basically Shiv Roy, okay? So I'm Shiv Roy before the wedding, right? I am like at the top, on the top of the world. So all of the musical material, all of the coloratura, all of the high notes, all of this stuff in Act 1 has to set up these laments and all of this exploration of all of the extremes of my voice in Act 2. So it's so many different demands on the voice and so many different musical demands.
And as an actor too, because of course you're both playing people who are young. They're young people, aren't they? They don't know the world, and then they learn about the world rather brutally, don't they? That must be quite a challenge as an actor to do that shift halfway through. I mean, what's your experience of that?
That's 90% of the roles that I play. I mean, like the sort of lighter lyric coloratura type, that is the stuff that I play.
Wake up.
Yeah, wake up to the world. You know, you're not living in your father's basement anymore, and things like that. That is definitely a trope of my voice type. But yes, it happens, and also there's the element of like the privilege that we have in royal family, this royal family, that we are sort of believing that nothing bad can happen to us. And so we have an extra shock in that way for everybody in the show.
Sounds great fun to play these parts.
It's a real upper. Super funny. No, there are some funny moments, and one of the things about this
No,
production...
what I mean is just you can get hold of these people is what I mean, really.
They're real people, and it's funny, and it's sad, and it's devastating, and then you feel relief. Like, it really feels like the tempo of real life to me, especially as an actor, but as someone who does a lot of Handel, it can come across as being like, this is the convention, and this production really makes it about the people going through like the worst day of their life. And it's amazing.
Jacqueline and Elena, that was an absolutely fascinating insight into those characters. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for
and
having
good luck
us.
for the production on the 9th.
Thank you.
Well, this production of Ariodante is the latest instalment in the Royal Opera's series of Handel's Covent Garden operas. Following in the footsteps recently of Alcina, we've had Jephthah, Theodora, and also Susanna. So let's hear now from the team who are putting this production together, making her Covent Garden debut. We have the director Jeske Meinsen and joined by conductor Stefano Montanari. Thank you very much for joining us after what I imagine is yet another very busy day in the rehearsal room.
Yes,
From your perspectives, how is it going so far? Will you be ready on the 9th?
No.
Oh, no.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, we are ready.
Yes, no major problems, no major problems so far.
No, we have an amazing cast. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Whilst the ladies were telling you about their roles, you've been watching the photos in the back, the pictures, and you see the intensity of our cast. And I think it's an incredible joy to work with so talented, emotional people. Mm-hmm.
So from your perspective then, tell us about your production, because as I said at the beginning, it's set in medieval Scotland originally. It's certainly not set there in this production. There aren't great pyrotechnics, there are no great big theatrical technicalities. What would you say this opera is?
This opera is a story about a family. And of course, when I get a new piece, it was new to me, then you start studying it, you start listening to it, and you start reading it. I'm a huge fan of Orlando Furioso, of Ariosto. And then you start asking yourself, who are these people and where are we? What kind of world is this? And I realized, for me, it's a family. This father with his daughter. And that was the reason I made Dalinda the sister. And what I found very, very special from the beginning is that Handel managed to make characters that have an incredible psychological frame, so to speak. So they are, as a director, from me you will never see black and white characters. Nobody's good in my evenings, nobody's bad. And if any one of you has seen Parsifal in Glyndebourne this year, you saw a Klingsor with a problem, with a pain, with a reason why he behaved like he behaved. And you saw an Amfortas who was a kind of, who had a very dark side to him. So it's my desire to create characters that have many, many colors, like we all have. And I'm fascinated by why we behave badly. What is it, what drives us to behave badly? So I'm very much interested in human beings. And I'm very much interested in families, in that kind of structure. So that was the reason I said it in an almost today, in a theatrical today world. So it's not literally today, also it develops during the evening. It starts very realistic, and with the deterioration of the characters, everything deteriorates. But for me, it was extremely important to make those characters, to make them so real that you can feel them, that they go under your skin.
And Stefano, this is new to you as well, I think, as a score. I mean, obviously you know Handel backwards, but...
My first Ariodante. Good evening, everyone.
Yes,
Good evening.
yes. So do you find that that what's happening on stage is actually reflected in the score? Is that all there?
So we are lucky because it's our first Ariodante, my first here in London, Covent Garden, And I'm lucky because when I remember I played, because I'm a violin player too, I played probably one aria during the recital. I don't remember exactly where, probably in Brussels, a few years ago. The only one piece that I played from Ariodante. So to me was a good, good music, very new music. So I'm lucky because when I opened my score, it's like Handel wrote this music one day before. It's extraordinary. Yeah, because if you don't know the music, it's new music. Also, when I did Rigoletto here in Covent Garden a few years ago, was my first Rigoletto. To me, it was new music. And when it's new, you discover day by day new things, new colors. Mm-hmm. She's right. It's not black and white. It's colors, multicolors music. And Jacqueline said just a few minutes ago about key, A major, G minor, E minor, but also between this kind of different key, also between the E minor from Lurcagno in the beginning or E minor of Geneva in the end is different. Because Handel was a great composer. He did an extraordinary work about the combination of instruments, a different instrument. Very simple music is very simple music, but the combination of instruments is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And with the same key, we can find two different colors, two totally different situations.
And it's early music, so the band is small, I presume. Does that make a difference to what you're doing in the pit?
Yeah, we have strings, horns, oboe, one bassoon, and we have two block flute, and the continuo, of course.
In a huge auditorium, is that a challenge?
No. No, I think no. Yeah. No, because it's not question about the sound, so the level of the sound, the forte or the pianissimo. It's just about the quality and the dimension and the situation. If it's intimate situation or powerful situation, when you play strong, we can play, but not all the time, because I hate the baroque music. When we play baroque music, all the time strong and accents and fortepiano and staccato all the time. It's very interesting to me because when I started conduct 20 years ago, before I played baroque music for 30 years, but I started not with baroque music, with Mozart, Rossini, blah, 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 blah. And very interesting to me to go back now in the baroque music after 20 years of Puccini and Verdi. It's very interesting because I have in my head much more the cantabile and tender moment than the aggressive and Vivaldi moment as usually we play baroque music.
Very interesting. Yes, talk me through the way that you've designed this piece, and particularly how the set evolves as the production goes on, because the set itself plays a part in this psychological drama, doesn't it?
Yes. Set designer Etienne Plus, a wonderful set designer. With the team together, of course, you work with a set designer, costume designer, light designer, very important in this, you will see that, Fabrice Kebour, and the costumes are by Uta Mene. The thing is, it's 3 acts, and we have a break between the every act. And in the first act, Jackie just said it's very, very funny. And Elena also, it's very light, and they're very rich and arrogant and entitled and very happy. And they think we're gonna marry and then we are happy ever after. And I think we all know that that sentence doesn't work. So, so the first act is this happiness. But I created one little, a very important detail actually, that the king in my staging is ill. He has a fatal illness, and but he's a very proud man, and he doesn't talk about it. So his girls, his daughters, they don't know, and they find out at the end of the first act. In the final of the first act is the first moment where they realize something is terribly going wrong. And together with that, so we have this illness of the king that gets worse and worse. But together with that, we feel how the piece in the second act, there Polinesso starts scheming. And at the end of the first act, we have this wonderful room, royal palace room, big table, a dinner, a wedding.
And very, very happy music.
Very, very, very happy.
The secret is the contrast, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
So the very, very happy music, chorus, everything, everybody's happy. And then the king falls. And whilst everybody is happy, one wall starts to move. And now you know it, but if I hadn't told you, you would think all of a sudden, the wall has moved. You don't see it move, because it moves, I think, in 8 minutes or something. So very, very, very slowly. And without a sound, soundless. So and that's the first thing that's happening. So the wall starts moving. And in the second act, when we dive into this world of pain, actually, because there's something so weird. Polinesso says to Ariodante, Ginevra is unfaithful. Jacqueline already said it. Why doesn't he ask her? And then Lurcanio says to the king, Ginevra is unfaithful. And there again, a father who is not capable to ask his daughter, what did you do? So she's ignored. She's not taken serious. And there the abyss opens up, the mental abyss. And with that, the walls start moving. So the world changes. And then in the third act, the house is actually gone. And we see 9 rooms, and we see 9 extremely lonely persons, like little islands of pain. People who cannot communicate, who cannot talk, and they are drifting in this totally deteriorated world. And with the costumes the same, we start very bright and funny, with nice colors, and the servants are all in red with white, beautiful. And then in the second act it gets darker, and then in the third act it gets black. And so actually with the whole design, we follow the mental journey of these characters.
And Stefano, is that reflected in the music? I mean, if you take one particular aria, say, does the structure of that aria enable this enclosing?
Can I play?
Well,
yeah.
we will. Okay.
Yes. For example, Eduardo, I play for you. Just a moment. For example, per esempio, allora. So the end of Act 1. If I can't find the moment. Okay. Eccolo qua. So the end of Act 1 is a gavotta, tempo di gavotta, in very brilliant and happy F major. So very happy. And the situation is, the end of the gavotta will be in the tragic, really tragic and dramatic situation. And the dramatic situation is mixed with this kind of, how you say neutrale? Neutral music? Yeah. So, like... because we finished the first act in very strange. We don't understand really what happened. We don't understand. And in the music, we don't understand is 1,000 times. And it is the moment when we start again with the opera and we remember how we finished Act 1. And the question is, and now, no answer. We will find the answer inside second act. And the final answer, and maybe not, in the end of Act 3. So it's a very strange story because with the concept of Jetzke, we have no solution. I don't speak you about the finale, okay? It's a surprise, but we have no solution. It's not the end, as usually also in the film. Okay, see you next time, to be continued. Our Ariodante is to be continued. Okay?
Absolutely.
Stefano, thank you very much. We're going to ask you to do some more playing in a little while. I just want to come back to Jetzke and just ask a little bit more about how, I mean, obviously, a Handel opera is full of these wonderful arias. As a director, when you get an aria, does the structure of an aria help you to work out the sort of dramatic, what you're going to do on stage, basically, how you're going to tell the story through that aria? Or do people just stand there and sing?
Well, I believe that the structure of Handel's arias, this A, B, A, is a gift to a director because it allows you, of course, to...
Are you sure?
Yes.
No, sometimes it's a problem.
I know.
Because you are fabulous. Sometimes the director said to me, can we cut the da capo, please? Of course, no.
Not.
But also one thing that you have cut, which is possibly controversial, is all of the dancing that Handel put in.
But first the ABA, because I have to explain why I like it so much. Because there, of course, you... often the A part is happy, the B part is contemplative or unhappy, and then the A part is a virtuoso version of the da capo is a virtuoso version of the A part, no? And sometimes the other way around. But of course, this offers you, first of all, A and B offers two sides of what's going on in a character, so it's extremely rich. And then the da capo, there it gets sensational, of course, because then, and also Stefano is inviting the singers really to go there for all kinds of variations, but also cynically, then you can see what all these thoughts and feelings has done to a character. And then you come in the most fascinating worlds, mental worlds, so to speak.
And very briefly, as I say, Handel put in dance,
Yes.
as we heard earlier, but you've decided to take them out. Why did you do that?
Yes, I did that because in working on the piece, at the end of each act, there are dances written. And now is the thing that at the end of Act 2, there are the most interesting dances. It's the nightmares. And it's positive nightmares and negative nightmares, les songes, the dreams. When we were developing this concept, the end of Act 2, the lament of Ginevra, what Jacqueline was talking about, there I have a cynical situation, so on scene, a situation that is so deeply moving, so disturbing, so terrible, that I knew there cannot be anything. I need a curtain there, and then we have to go into the break. And this brought me to the idea that in this evening, normally I like to work with dance. I did a lot of Rameau. Rameau has these very special divertissements in every act. And you have to work with that. You can stage it, you can choreograph it. But in this particular staging, and it's because of this ending of Act 2, and I think when you see it and when you go through it emotionally, I think maybe in the break you will think of me, and I hope you understand it.
Well, Jessica, thank you very much indeed for sparing the time to come and talk to us this evening. Stefano, you're going to stay with us for a little while, but all the very best for the production when it
Thank
goes
you.
up. Let's go
Ciao,
now.
Clara.
So I stay, I listen.
Well, Stefano, you've already provided us with some musical examples. You're going to provide us with a little more, and I think also, because we've now got Edward
Yeah.
back at the piano, with your violin.
Yeah, I will take my violin.
Go and get your violin, and we will talk a bit more about exactly the magic.
And anche
that,
I will pick up also a stand because I cannot play just by. Cosa suoniamo? No, just for a few examples. Edward, prendiamo per piacere. Can you play, if you agree, the beginning of Act 3, just you alone? Because we said before, so how we start Act 2. So we will arrive in the end of Act 1, and we have the Sinfonia, D major Sinfonia, and after the end of Act 2, and I will play something for Act 2, we have this Sinfonia Larghetto. We have the entrance of Ariodante, so Non mi lasciarmi vivere, is extraordinary music because it's just music about tormento. I would say tormento in English. Torment, yeah. Our own torment, because Ariodante is really tormentatissimo, not torment, tormentatissimo. Is the moment, is the very special moment for Ariodante. Why? Because just in the end of Act 2, we had the same situation with Ginevra. And, take my violin, thank you. And the larghetto before, in the end of Act 2, don't forget the larghetto in the end of Act 3. We have the larghetto, bravissimo, in Act 2. If I play in a very bad way, is it? Is really English pop music. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. But if we play with the instrumentation of Handel, the character is totally different because we use just violins and basso continuo. So the basso, you know what's the basso continuo? So the basso continuo is. So the bass. So it's the bass line with harmony, with all the harmony. And we will put violins, and the character immediately changes. You understand? With the same music, we can do the black and the white, red and purple, yellow, green, every colors. And the most important thing in my job, when we start a new production, okay, new music for me, I will understand, I will speak with the director, and finally me and Jeske, she's fabulous because we share, we compare the music, we share the ideas. It's just wonderful situation. But also we have to understand the singers, how the singers sing. I don't know, because to me it was everyone new cast for me. I didn't know the singers before. And the surprise is when he started to sing. And I can understand how and in which way I have to do the music also with the orchestra. So because normally I prepare the 70% of the music, but when I start with the singers and also with the orchestra, we have just to keep the energy from everyone and keep the energy and give you the same energy. This is just miracle about the music. It's very unbelievable.
Stefano, has some of these characters surprised you? I mean, I get the impression you rather love Geneva.
Di Ginevra?
Yeah.
Ah, sì. Di Ginevra. Ah, sì. Ginevra. Ginevra. Ginevra, especially, I love the role because especially in the end, we are almost at the end of the opera, and we have, number 37. The very small aria, the name is Io ti bacio, is very simple. It's like that. The best moment of Ginevra, but also, for example, of Lurcagno in the beginning, are the tender moment, the pathetic moment when they sing not just A major, G minor, but also D minor, E minor, and this kind of dark and mysterious key. Very. The music is just simple, because also in the orchestra, this is the secret by Handel. So the line, very simple line with some ornaments and very pure line. And with this line, the singers are totally free to do something. But the problem is when you have very strong aria, very virtuoso aria and fast allegro, it's simple because you do coloratura, okay? If you have coloratura, natural coloratura, you can go high and low, you very simple. The very virtuoso situation is when you have to do variazioni in the slow aria, because we need to understand harmony. We need to know what we have to do with the harmony. We need to know where are the limits, because we have the rules. We cannot do the fifth, we cannot do the ottave parallele, etc., etc. So the very interesting thing is, because it's very simple, this is the line. Semplicissimo. And also the beginning is variazione. And if you want to do variazioni, we can do but we have to know how. Because if you do something wrong, for example, and you play is wrong because we have rules about this. You cannot do the same octave at the same time. So my job sometime, thank you, is to correct the singers. You can, you cannot, is better, is not good. And the same problem about the appoggiatura. We are super fan of appoggiatura. Appoggiatura everywhere. No, because, for example, okay, or nothing. So when we need something very direct, we don't need appoggiatura. When we have to sing or play something really softly, probably it's better the upper appoggiatura. So when we need something on the deep and a bit more problematic, with a little more tension, we will put different appoggiatura. So it's very difficult work. I'm so sorry. Difficult job.
All the same, it sounds to me as if you've really enjoyed digging deep into this opera
Yeah.
that you've never worked for before. What has it taught you about Handel, would you say?
Handel.
Yeah, I mean, what do you know him better because of this opera?
I'm Italian and I love Vivaldi, but I don't like totally Vivaldi in the opera. I think Handel was the best opera composer in the world.
Why? What did he do?
Because the way to compose, very simple, and also very rhythmical. The rhythm inside are really, really interesting. Because also in the aria that sang Grace before, we have some moment like Hallelujah, Hallelujah. It's very. Okay, I cannot say rock. It is a bit rock. Okay, pop rock music in Handel. Anyway, the English pop starts in the beginning of 18th century. Also with the Parcel and also an Italian violin player named Nicola Matteis was one of the best Italian violin player in the 18th century, more than Vivaldi in London. And I think Handel. The secret is how he combined the instrument and the sound. This is the secret. And how he managed the key. Because this story about the key came from Monteverdi. So F major is the Op, D minor is Requiem, and E minor is Malinconia, and etc., etc., etc. So this idea about the character combined with the key, with tonalità, is just from the very early Baroque music.
And do you think he was also watching very carefully what was coming out of Paris? I mean, how much French music is there in Handel, would you say?
Yeah, but French music, we have French music in the beginning. Can you play the beginning? Vai. This is very French overture. Thank you so much. Molto gentile. It's very French.
Yes.
Because we had a mix. We have Italian style and French style. And normally in Handel, the overture is always overture à la française. Jeske said before about Rameau, the French style was really, really famous and was really, really normal for the composers.
Yes.
But not just Handel, also in Italy.
Yes.
Because in the French style we have a lot of different things. We have this kind of puntato, tim, papam, papam, papa. We have sometimes the inégal, so equal and not equal. So the equal is, okay, I can say you Italian, it's not true, but anyway, I'm a bit superficial. But equal is, and unequal, so inégal à la française, say, is a swing.
Yeah.
It's a swing.
More dance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Stefano, thank you very much indeed. We're going to end this evening with one more aria from Ariodante, Bramo Ave Mille Vite. My Italian is not as good as yours. Could you just set this up? What's happening in this aria?
In this area?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know?
It's a secret. I cannot explain everything for you.
Okay.
Hey, come on. Come on.
Okay, well, let's let Sarah Guilford explain it by singing it, shall we?
Yes, bravo.
Would you please welcome to end our evening Sarah Guilford, soprano, to sing this aria from Ariodante with Edward once more at the piano. Sarah.
Poi
Sarah Guilford, and at the piano, Edward Reeve. Well, thank you very much indeed for all of the guests who have taken part in tonight's Insight, which has been supported by Rolex. I do hope you've enjoyed it if you've been watching it at home. Thank you to our audience here in the Claw studio, and indeed to Stefano for all of his musical examples. The production of Ariodante goes live. The curtain goes up for the first time on the 9th of December, and I do hope that having watched this Insight, you might think about going and enjoying this very intense drama by Handel. For now, though, from all of us here at Handel's Covent Garden, good night.